The first 5 centuries of the Common Era mark a time of great transition, where empires stretched, fractured, and reformed across continents. Rome, at its zenith, dominated much of Europe and North Africa, while the Han dynasty in the east shaped a parallel sphere of power. In the shadows of imperial ambition, the seeds of monotheism were taking root. Judaism faced diaspora, Christianity slowly spread across the Roman world, and Zoroastrianism remained central in Persia. This was not only an age of conquest and monumental architecture, but also of quiet, spiritual upheaval. Yet, amid these sweeping human transformations, the most dramatic losses in wildlife occurred far from the imperial capitals, on remote islands. Isolated ecosystems, home to unique and vulnerable species, faced rapid decline as humans arrived, bringing habitat disruption and invasive species. Lions and bears may have still roamed continental forests, but fragile island fauna vanished quietly and irreversibly. These island extinctions, often overshadowed by grand historical events, marked a subtle but profound chapter in the Earth's biological history. Even in an age of spiritual awakening and monumental human achievements, the delicate balance of life continued to unravel in the shadows of the sea, thread by thread, species by species.
Ayles's harrier was a large island-endemic bird of prey from New Zealand, showing classic island gigantism, with females weighing up to 3 kilograms, twice as much as a modern swamp harrier. Unlike most harriers, it resembled a giant hawk and hunted medium-sized land birds, adapting to an ecosystem with no native mammals. It likely hunted similarly to goshawks, preying on diurnal birds. The swamp harrier only became widespread in New Zealand after human arrival, with no evidence that the two species coexisted extensively. Their ecological overlap suggests that competition played a role in the extinction of Ayles's harrier, allowing the swamp harrier to establish itself in its absence. The New Zealand goose was another large, flightless waterfowl endemic to New Zealand. The species Cnemiornis calcitrans was from the South Island. These birds were exceptionally large for geese, reaching up to 18 kilograms, comparable in size to small moa. Their feet had reduced webbing, indicating a highly terrestrial lifestyle, similar to that of the Hawaiian nene. They are thought to have been most closely related to the Cape Barren goose of Australia. These geese were likely never very abundant and became extinct due to a combination of human hunting by Polynesian settlers and the introduction of invasive predators such as the Polynesian rat and dogs. These pressures particularly affected their vulnerable eggs and chicks. They had disappeared before the arrival of Europeans. Silphium was a highly prized plant in antiquity, used as a spice, medicine, and perfume, and was central to the economy of ancient Cyrene. Its exact identity is unknown, though it's often linked to extinct or extant species of ferula, such as Ferula drudiana. The plant had a very limited range in eastern Libya and couldn't be cultivated, making it especially vulnerable. Its extinction, likely due to overharvesting, environmental degradation, or hybrid sterility, is considered the first documented biological extinction in human history. Millimongamys julia fossil have been found on Mahaniwa inside Liangliwaula that consist most of the mandibulary parts of the animal. Its mandible has reduced coronoid and angular processes that do not extend dorsally or posteriorly beyond the level of the articular condyle. Although not as big as some extinct and extant lesser Sunda rodents, Millimongamys is still a large rodent that can reach 300 grams. They lived alongside other giant rat species that have been named Raxasamis. The powerful goshawk is an accipiter of the Accipiter gentilis group, recognizable by very large size and the proportionately short, very robust tarsometatarsas. This species differs from others in proportions, the elements of the wing and pectoral girdle being smaller, but the tarsometatarsas and claws as large and robust as in that species. Also, the distal foramen of the tarsometatarsas is markedly smaller, and the wing of the inner trochlea does not extend as far posteriorly. The gracile goshawk was a species of bird of prey, too, endemic to the island of New Caledonia in Melanesia in the southwest Pacific region. It was described from subfossil bones found at the Pindai Caves paleontological site on the west coast of Grande Terre. The Latin specific epithet quartus means fourth. It was the fourth accipiter species recorded from New Caledonia. It was smaller and much less robust than its contemporary congener, the powerful goshawk, remains of which were also found at the same site. The Kanaka pigeon, also known as the great green pigeon or greater maned pigeon, is an extinct species of pigeon. It was probably hunted to extinction by the early settlers of New Caledonia and Tonga around 2,000 years ago. It was described from subfossil remains found at the Pindai Caves of New Caledonia. The specific epithet is a Latinization of Kanaka, the name of the native Melanesian people of New Caledonia. It was about 25% larger than its closest living relative, the Nicobar pigeon. The pile builder megapode was a large, flightless bird weighing about 3.5 kilograms, making it the heaviest known species of its genus. Subfossil remains have been found in both New Caledonia and Tonga, where it was the largest ground-dwelling bird. It likely went extinct rapidly after the arrival of Lapita settlers around 1500 before our era, who hunted it and other large birds for food. A possible late survival is hinted at by an 18th century description of a mysterious New Caledonian bird that may have been a megapode. The New Caledonian ground dove is a large extinct species of Pampusana ground dove in the pigeon family and the largest member of its genus. It was endemic to the island of New Caledonia in Melanesia in the southwest Pacific region. It was described from subfossil bones found at the Pindai Caves, like the Kanaka pigeon. The specific epithet refers to the slender and elongated tarsometatarsas, or lower leg bone, of the species. The New Caledonian gallinule was a species of bird in the family Rallidae. Like many of these birds, it was endemic to the island and probably became extinct due to hunting, habitat loss, and the presence of invasive species following human settlement. However, a passage from an 1860 article refers to birds the size of turkeys being present in marshy areas of New Caledonia, suggesting that it may have survived into historic times. The specific epithet derives from Kukwide, the name of a local deity associated with a legend leading to the discovery of a bone of the gallinule on the Isle of Pines. The great Maui crake was a flightless rail endemic to Maui, known from subfossil remains and once widespread across the island's drier southern regions. It likely became extinct shortly after Polynesian settlement due to a combination of habitat destruction, introduced predators like rats, and hunting, especially after other large flightless birds had already vanished. While never found in a cultural context, its abundance and size make it a probable target for early human exploitation. By the time of European arrival in 1778, the species was already extinct, leaving behind only scattered skeletal remains in lava caves and upland forest. The great Oahu rail was a medium-sized flightless bird endemic to Oahu, known from limited fossil remains found in lowland sinkholes. It likely had a cryptic brownish-gray plumage and a versatile diet, including soft invertebrates and fruit. Although initially classified in the genus Porzana, later morphological and genetic context suggests it may belong to a different group of Pacific Island rails, possibly closer to Galeralis. The species likely went extinct before widespread human settlement due to habitat loss and predation by introduced rats and native birds of prey. The giant fossa was a large, extinct carnivorous mammal from Madagascar, closely related to the modern fossa, but significantly larger, possibly weighing over 20 kilograms. It had a cat-like body with semi-retractable claws, a long tail for balance, and adaptations for climbing, indicating it was a capable arboreal predator. Its dentition suggests it preyed on large lemurs and other sizable animals, making it one of the island's top predators. Fossil evidence shows that it survived into the late Holocene, overlapping with early human settlement. Its extinction was likely driven by habitat destruction, competition with humans, and the decline of its prey base due to overhunting and ecosystem disruption. The disappearance of such a dominant predator reflects the rapid ecological changes Madagascar experienced following human colonization. Bison occidentalis was a medium-sized extinct bison species that lived in North America during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene, evolving from the larger Bison antiquus. It had shorter horns and a lighter build than its ancestors, likely as an adaptation to warmer climates and changing ecosystems after the Ice Age. This species represents a transitional form between the massive Ice Age bison and the modern bison. Its extinction around 2,000 years ago was likely due to a combination of human hunting pressure and continued environmental change. Its disappearance marks an important step in the evolutionary lineage leading to today's American bison. The Waitomo frog's distribution was solely in the North Island of New Zealand. Its extinction is believed to have happened during the last 2,000 years. Its subfossil remains were discovered at a cave near Waitomo. It was a large, robust frog and presumably many times heavier than other native frogs. It was around 10 centimeters in length, about twice the size of any other native New Zealand frogs. It was first described by Trevor Worthy in 1987, along with the Aurora frog and Markham's frog. Because Mesopropithecus died out relatively recently and is only known from subfossil remains, it is considered to be a modern form of Malagasy lemur. It may have been among the last subfossil lemurs to go extinct, possibly surviving until 500 years ago, although radiocarbon dating places the most recent remains 429. The arrival of humans roughly 2,000 years ago is thought to have sparked the decline of Mesopropithecus through hunting, habitat destruction, or both. While the skull most closely resembles that of modern sifakas, the postcranial skeleton is quite different. Rather than having elongated hind limbs for leaping, it had elongated forelimbs, suggesting they predominantly used quadrupedal locomotion, slow climbing, with some forelimb and hind limb suspension. Ancient art consistently depicts the African wild asses of North Africa as similar to, but darker colored than, the Somali wild ass subspecies. The general color was gray, with marked black and white stripes on the legs and a black shoulder cross, sometimes doubled. In comparison, the Somali wild ass is sandy with black stripes, but no shoulder cross. Wild and primitive domestic asses are indistinguishable from their bones, which complicates their identification in archaeological sites. It was last represented in a villa mural at 300 in Bona, in Algeria, and may have become extinct as a result of Roman sport hunting. The Marquesas cuckoo dove is an extinct species of bird in the pigeon family. It was endemic to the Marquesas Islands of French Polynesia. It was described from subfossil bones recovered from the Hane archaeological site on the island of Uahuka. The cuckoo dove was a relatively large species with long legs. its limb proportions suggesting a more terrestrial lifestyle than its congeners. The dove's extinction occurred either upon or shortly after the colonization of the islands by ancient Polynesians. The New Ireland forest rat is known only by the discovery of some 7 subfossil fragments of jaw dated to over 3,000 years old. The molars of this particular species are broad and have a very complex structure of the cusp. The diastema is also longer than in other species of the genus Rattus, suggesting a separate species which may be a relic of an archaic or ancestral dispersal of Rattus stock to New Guinea and Australia. The North African elephant was an extinct subspecies, or possibly a distinct species of African elephant that lived north of the Sahara until Roman times. Famous for being used as war elephants by Carthage during the Punic Wars, these elephants were notably smaller than both the Indian elephant and the modern African bush elephant, likely resembling today's African forest elephant in size. Their natural range probably extended along the Red Sea coast, including areas of present-day Egypt, Sudan, and Eritrea, with possible wider distribution across northern Africa. The elephants held cultural and military importance for the Kingdom of Kush and Egypt, where they were depicted in art and used in battle. Despite their significance, these elephants were considered inferior to the larger Indian elephants employed by rival kingdoms. Their extinction in the 4th century was driven by overhunting, capture for Roman games, and habitat pressures. Taxonomic classification remains debated, as some scientists view them as a unique subspecies, while others think they were smaller populations of the African bush elephant. The Mangaia crake is an extinct species of flightless bird in the rail family. It was described in 1986 from subfossil bones of late Holocene age found in caves on the island of Mangaia in the southern Cook Islands of East Polynesia. It was placed in the then loosely circumscribed genus Porzana, but it almost certainly does not belong to Porzana proper as understood in modern times. While the species survived for hundreds of years of Polynesian settlement, even despite the establishment of introduced predators, at some point in the last millennium, Mangaia suffered an ecosystem collapse with far-reaching consequences. Southern Malagasy giant rat is an extinct rodent from central and southeastern Madagascar. First described in 1903, it is larger than its close relative, the living Hypogeomes antimina, which occurs further west but otherwise similar. Average length of the femur is 7 centimeters, compared to 6 centimeters in Hypogeomes antimina. One of the few extinct rodents of Madagascar, it survived to at least around 618, based on radiocarbon dating. Little is known of its ecology, but it may have lived in burrows like its living relative and eaten some arid-adapted plants. The Jamaican monkey is a unique New World monkey known only from fragmentary remains, featuring unusual traits like fewer teeth with enlarged molars and heavy leg bones, similar to slow climbers such as lorises. It was about 70 centimeters long, including its tail, and likely moved slowly through trees, possibly feeding while hanging upside down like a sloth. Its strange anatomy made its evolutionary relationships unclear until ancient DNA revealed it as a titi monkey closely related to the genus Characetus. Its ancestors probably reached Jamaica around 11 million years ago during the late Miocene. Related primates on nearby Caribbean islands suggest multiple independent colonization of the region from South America by different monkey lineages. Oahu moanalo was a large, flightless duck native to the Hawaiian Islands, characterized by strong legs adapted for walking rather than flying. It likely fed on a variety of plants and small animals, occupying a unique ecological niche in its island environment. Its extinction was primarily driven by human activities, including hunting and habitat destruction following Polynesian settlement. Additionally, introduced predators such as rats and pigs contributed significantly to its decline and eventual disappearance. Chatham duck was described by Walter Oliver from Bird Bones in the collection of the Canterbury Museum in 1955 in the second edition of his work, New Zealand Birds. Some authors have suggested that the Chatham duck was flightless. However, comparison of Chatham duck wing bones with those from living ducks indicates no disproportional reduction in wing length. It likely became extinct in about the 16th century because of hunting by humans. Maiolania mackay was the last known species of the horned turtle lineage, native to New Caledonia. It had a heavily armored shell with distinctive horns on its head and tail, adapted for defense. This large, slow-moving herbivore fed on tough plants in forested environments. Its extinction likely resulted from human hunting and environmental changes after human arrival.